Ladies and gentlemen, today we journey through the humble yet fascinating story of the Canadian 1-cent coin, a small piece of copper that carries decades of history in its shine. From the classic 1972 issue to the refined designs of 1987, the polished detail of 1993, and the final years before its retirement in 1998, each coin tells a chapter of Canada's evolving identity. Join us as we uncover how this tiny cent became a lasting symbol of national pride and everyday heritage. As we move from the broader journey of Canada's 1-cent coins into the heart of a single remarkable year, one coin in particular stands out: the 1976 Canadian 1-cent, a small copper piece that carries a story of pride, rarity, and unexpected value. The year 1976 was a time of national pride for Canada. It was the year Montreal hosted the Olympic Games, and the country's spirit was filled with excitement, progress, and unity. Amid this historic atmosphere, the Royal Canadian Mint produced the humble 1-cent coin, a small piece of copper that would later become a cherished collectible. Struck in Ottawa, this coin was composed primarily of bronze 98% copper, with small traces of tin and zinc. It carried the familiar maple leaf twig design, an enduring symbol of Canadian identity, strength, and endurance through generations. On the obverse side, the coin proudly displayed the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. Her youthful profile captured the grace of the monarch during an era when Canada was defining its independent spirit within the Commonwealth. At the time, millions of 1-cent coins were minted for circulation. But what makes the 1976 issue so fascinating is not just its design. It's the story behind its survival and rarity in top condition. Over the decades, countless 1976 cents were spent, lost, or corroded away. Few were preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition. Those that survived with their original mint luster intact became treasures of immense numismatic interest. Collectors often refer to these pieces as the hidden gems of Canadian coinage. A flawless, bright red 1976 cent can command impressive attention in the marketplace, especially from those who appreciate the artistry of mid-20th century minting. The appeal doesn't stop at beauty. Some 1976 1-cent coins feature subtle minting variations, such as die rotations, die cracks, or slightly doubled features. These small errors have transformed ordinary coins into coveted collector items, each worth far more than face value. In the coin collecting world, condition is everything. A circulated 1976 cent might appear ordinary, but in pristine mint state, graded MS-65 or higher, its value rises dramatically. Professional collectors have paid impressive sums for these coins. A perfect example, with deep red color and full strike details, can reach values as high as $600 at auction when demand peaks. And in some extraordinary cases, where the coin shows unique tunning or rare die features, private collectors have been willing to pay even more, stretching well above $800 for the right piece. These values are a testament to how passion and preservation can turn something once so common into a prize worth hundreds of dollars. It's not just about the metal, it's about history, craftsmanship, and rarity combined. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that has witnessed half a century of Canadian life. It's a piece of copper, yet it tells a story of national pride, of the Olympics, of an era when coins were still made with care and artistry. Each 1976 1-cent is a tiny time capsule, a link to a moment when Canada was standing tall before the world, proud of its heritage and its progress. That emotional connection makes it even more valuable. So if you happen to come across one of these coins in an old drawer, a piggy bank, or a forgotten collection, don't ignore it. Take a closer look. You might just be holding a small fortune in your hand. Collectors are constantly searching for these high-grade examples, and demand continues to rise as fewer remain in perfect condition. With every passing year, finding a flawless 1976 cent becomes harder, and that only pushes its value higher. In the world of numismatics, opportunities like this remind us that treasures don't always sparkle with gold or silver. Sometimes, they shine with copper. So keep your eyes open and your curiosity alive. The next time you find a 1976 Canadian 1 cent coin, remember, it's not just a cent. It's a piece of Canadian history that could be worth hundreds of dollars, and a symbol of how small things can hold extraordinary value. Because sometimes the tiniest coin carries the biggest story and the richest reward. From the shining legacy of the 1976 Canadian cent, we now step forward into a new era, the year 1987, when Canada's humble penny carried the mark of modernization while quietly transforming into one of the most collectible coins of its decade. The 1987 Canadian 1 cent coin represents a turning point in Canada's minting history, a balance between traditional craftsmanship and technological advancement. It may look simple, but beneath its copper surface lies a story of value, rarity, and national heritage that continues to captivate collectors worldwide. This coin was struck during a period of transition. The Royal Canadian Mint had been experimenting with more efficient production techniques, and the 1987 cent reflects that precision. Each piece was carefully made, bearing the same proud maple leaf twig design that symbolizes Canada's enduring identity. On the obverse side, the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II had evolved. Designed by Arnold Machen, it still captured her grace and authority, yet by the late 1980s, the engraving carried sharper lines and a more refined finish, a testament to the mint's improved dye technology. The reverse side, with its iconic twin maple leaves, continued to honor the vision of George Edward Kruger Gray, whose timeless artwork had appeared on the penny since 1937. In 1987, the design was sharper, cleaner, and more uniform than in earlier decades. This coin was minted primarily in bronze 98% copper with traces of tin and zinc, the same classic composition that collectors admire for its warm, reddish glow. However, over time, copper's value and scarcity have elevated even these once common cents into prized collectibles. What truly makes the 1987 1 cent coin valuable is its preservation. Decades have passed, and very few examples remain in perfect mint condition. Those with deep red luster, no scratches, and fully struck details have become rare treasures. In the numismatic community, a pristine 1987 cent graded MS-65 or higher can easily reach $400 to $700, especially when it retains that full, red brilliance that collectors crave. Coins stored carefully since the 1980s have become the crown jewels of private Canadian cent collections. Even more exciting are the rare minting anomalies from 1987, subtle doubling on the maple leaf veins, small die cracks, or slightly rotated dies. These mint errors can dramatically raise a coin's value, with some examples fetching well over $900 in top condition. Beyond its market price, the 1987 cent holds deep sentimental worth. It marks a period when Canada's economy was growing, technology was advancing, and the country was redefining itself in a modern world, yet still holding tightly to its traditions. Every polished edge and engraved leaf on this coin reflects the craftsmanship of a mint that never lost pride in its smallest denomination. These coins were everyday tools for Canadians, yet today, they're preserved as valuable artifacts of national history. Collectors often call the 1987 1 cent the quiet climber, a coin that has steadily gained worth without the hype. As older pennies were melted down or forgotten after the cent's retirement in 2012, surviving 1987 specimens became even scarcer. Finding one in perfect condition today feels like uncovering a piece of Canada's copper soul, a relic from a time when every penny still mattered. And just like the 1976 cent, the 1987 edition proves that greatness isn't always measured in size or metal. It's found in preservation, rarity, and the timeless pride of a nation stamped into a single coin. So if you happen to spot a flawless 1987 Canadian 1 cent, don't overlook it. In your hand lies not just a penny, but a part of Canadian history, a small copper treasure that can be worth hundreds of dollars and a proud reminder of the artistry behind every coin ever made. Because even the simplest cent can tell a story of fortune, legacy, and the enduring beauty of Canada's minting tradition. As we move beyond the brilliance of the 1987 cent, the story continues into the early 1990s, a time when Canada embraced modern minting technology while preserving its timeless symbols. Among those coins, the 1993 Canadian 1 cent stands as a perfect blend of precision, elegance, and hidden value. The 1993 Canadian 1 cent coin is more than just another penny. It's a reflection of a nation at the height of craftsmanship and innovation. Minted during a decade of change, this small coin carries the proud heritage of Canada's past while introducing the refined quality of modern minting. By 1993, the Royal Canadian Mint had perfected its techniques, creating coins with incredible detail and consistency. The 1 cent piece from this year shines with a rich copper tone and sharp engravings that reflect the mint's growing expertise. The obverse bears the elegant portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Dora de Patery Hunt, a new sculptor's vision that replaced the earlier Machin design. Her depiction is mature, confident, and dignified, representing both continuity and progress in the monarchy's image. On the reverse, the familiar maple leaf twig remains the symbol of national pride. The twin leaves, finely detailed and perfectly balanced, capture the enduring beauty of Canada's natural emblem. Though the design was decades old, in 1993 it appeared cleaner and more refined than ever before. The coin was still struck primarily in bronze 98% copper, 1.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin, giving it the signature reddish glow collectors adore. However, with copper prices rising globally, these coins became more expensive to produce, adding another layer of interest to their story. What makes the 1993 Canadian 1 cent coin truly valuable today is its rarity and high-grade condition. Most of these coins were circulated heavily, used in everyday transactions, and lost their luster over time. But those preserved carefully, untouched by wear, have become treasures of the Copper Age. Collectors seek the deep red, unspotted examples that still gleam with original mint brilliance. Such coins, especially in mint state, MS-65 or higher, can command prices of $500 to $800, depending on their color and quality. But the allure doesn't end there. The 1993 issue also brought a few intriguing mint errors, slight die rotations, off-center strikes, and rare double-die varieties. These anomalies have fetched even higher prices, sometimes exceeding $1,000 when discovered in pristine condition. Each of these coins tells a story of precision and patience, a story of how the smallest denomination can capture an entire era of Canadian craftsmanship. The 1993 cent arrived during a time when coins were beginning to disappear from daily life, as digital payment systems slowly emerged. Yet this penny reminds us of the tangible connection people once had with money, the weight, the sound, the texture of real copper. In many ways, the 1993 Canadian 1 cent is a farewell to the age of true bronze. Within just a few years, the Royal Canadian Mint would transition to copper-plated zinc, ending the long legacy of solid bronze coinage in the country. That makes this coin historically important. It stands right at the border between two eras, the traditional and the modern. Owning a flawless 1993 cent today is like holding the final heartbeat of Canada's pure copper tradition. It's a coin that radiates warmth, heritage, and undeniable value. Collectors treasure it not only for its price, but for what it represents, the last of a line, the perfection of design before change took hold. So when you find a 1993 Canadian 1 cent coin gleaming with its original color, remember, it's not just a penny. It's a symbol of a proud nation's craftsmanship, a piece of numismatic beauty that can bring hundreds of dollars to its finder, and a shining reminder that even the smallest coins can hold the greatest value. Because in every 1993 cent, there lives a legacy, a copper legacy that refuses to fade. From the proud copper legacy of 1993, we now arrive at the final chapter in our journey, the 1998 Canadian 1 cent coin, a piece that stands at the edge of history, representing both the end of an era and the birth of modern minting in Canada. The 1998 Canadian 1 cent coin holds a special place in the story of Canadian currency. It stands as one of the last true copper-plated treasures before the humble penny began its long farewell from circulation. More than just small change, it symbolizes a nation's pride, artistry, and evolution in coinage. By 1998, the Royal Canadian Mint had entered a new technological age. Coin production had become more precise, more efficient, and yet the spirit of craftsmanship still lived on in every cent. The 1998 penny captured that balance perfectly, modern technique meeting timeless tradition. On its obverse, the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Dora de Patery Hunt, continued to grace the coin. The detail of her mature profile reflected both dignity and resilience, a symbol of continuity through decades of Canadian change. The reverse side, with its iconic maple leaf twig created by George Edward Kruger Gray, remained untouched, a reminder of Canada's enduring strength and unity. The delicate veins, sharp edges, and fine texture of the leaves in 1998's striking made this version particularly appealing to collectors who value precision and artistry. Unlike earlier bronze issues, the 1998 1 cent was composed of 98.4% zinc and coated with 1.6% copper plating, a cost-saving decision that also created a new kind of beauty. The plating gave the coin a bright, mirror-like finish that shimmered under light, setting it apart from earlier, heavier cents. What makes the 1998 Canadian 1 cent so valuable today is not just its composition, but its timing. It came just a few years before the Royal Canadian Mint began experimenting with steel cores, and eventually, before the complete discontinuation of the penny in 2012. That makes it one of the final collectible copper-plated zinc cents of its kind. Collectors across Canada and beyond often seek out flawless examples, coins with no blemishes, no scratches, and a full fiery red shine. These rare, untouched pieces can easily reach $700 to $1,000 in mint state condition, especially when graded by professional numismatic services. The most extraordinary examples, those with proof-like surfaces or minting anomalies, have achieved even higher figures at auctions, crossing the $1,200 mark when bidding wars erupt between serious collectors. The 1998 1 cent is not just valuable for its rarity, but for its symbolism. It represents the final era of traditional Canadian pennies before the 21st century brought sweeping changes in currency design and production. Every detail of this coin whispers of nostalgia. The sound of coins jingling in pockets, the copper glow that once defined everyday transactions, and the quiet beauty of a nation's identity struck in metal. This penny bridges generations. It connects those who grew up saving copper coins in jars with collectors who now guard them as precious artifacts. It's a coin that carries memories as much as it carries value. When you hold a 1998 Canadian 1 cent, you're holding the closing chapter of a century-old tradition, the last great symbol of Canada's 1 cent heritage. Its glow is more than copper, its history shining through time. And as collectors recognize the rarity and emotional depth behind these coins, their demand and value only continues to rise. So if one of these coins rests quietly among your change, take a closer look. You might just be holding a treasure worth hundreds of dollars, a reminder that true value isn't only in gold or silver, it's in the stories that endure. The 1998 Canadian 1 cent marks the end of a legacy, but also the beginning of something greater, a lasting appreciation for the artistry, pride, and beauty behind Canada's most iconic coin. Because even as the penny fades from circulation, its legend continues, glowing bright in the hearts of collectors and shining forever in the world of numismatics.